And also we have Association of Material Science and Engineering Students, OAE, present here. We also have Music Students Association of Nigeria, OAE chapter here. Then we have Initiative for Humanity Matters, we funded by the Honorable Commissioner and is aimed at social development of youth and women. A round of applause for them, please. So right now we will be going into the debate, but before we do that, we have something very important. Now I want us all to bring out our smartphones. Just do that. Please bring out your smartphones. Open your camera, unlock your phone. If it's your own, unlock it. If it's not your own, return it to the owner. Alright, so take a selfie. Everyone, let's do that. Take a selfie. Snapchat, Instagram filter. Please, add all the filters, please. Alright, now, have you done that? You do two things now. First, go to Twitter. If you do not have Twitter, talk to your neighbor. And you tweet that picture with the hashtag IHW21 GBV IFUMSA. Can tag for this. We'll be selecting pictures of people, the finest picture. So that's why I'm telling you to add your filters, find filters. That one, child, add it. Yes, please. The loved one too, add it. WhatsApp status too. Please do that for us. Then also we have brands have giveaways for us. For vlogs, please tweet with the hashtags GBP, hashtag vlogs, hashtag IFUMSA with your vlogs IDs. If you do not have your vlogs IDs, you can download the app on your stores, Apple Store, Play Store, and all of that. And also download the Google app. We have giveaways for us, a lot of giveaways. Money, bags, laptops. Just kidding, laptop is not there. Now we're going to be starting the debate, and to moderate this session, I would like to bring forth Ayotunde Fola Famokowa. Please, a round of applause for Ayotunde.
Also as the current debate coach of the IFUMSA Quiz and Debate Club for this parliamentary year. I know for a certainty that we are not here for the public lecture and we have been enjoying the program as has been going. We have heard great speeches, great talks from our daddies and mommies that just finished, and I know we are also here for two other programs. Very important programs. There are a lot of programs lined up here, but I can assure you that we are going to tie you up with some other programs. One of them is the debate that is coming up now. Another one is the panel discussion following after. So let us all get our appetite straight. Let us all prepare to see people days us as they move stuffs. We are all medical, a lot of us here are medical students, and I can assure you that being a medical student is not just everything. In medical school, we find ourselves doing so many other things, and one of them is debating, one of them is giving speech, one of them is representing the school to far and large. Reference to at various opportunities that come to us. The IFUMSA Peace Club is the arm of the Medical Student Association of Awolowo. It's the arm of that association that is serving with the responsibility of representing the association in debates, in quizzes, both home and abroad. So thank you very, very much. We'll be going up to the debate as going up to the debate now. So I'll be introducing the people participating in the debate. We have Abba Teresa and Fabio today and Thank you is here. So I am the moderator and Ayotunde Famokua. So the judges, I'll be calling the judges. Judges are Okorodu Amakinde, a party member. She's a current member of the IFUMSA Peace and Debate Club. We have Toby Loba Akamba, a current member of the West and Debate Journal Club. And we also have the third judge, Promise Abiodun, also a member of the IFUMSA Peace and Debate Club. So our three debaters for today are Olofin Shaviti and can I please come up very fast? Olaleke Gideon Opeyemi, Olofin Shaviti of the new Part 4 class, Olaleke Gideon Opeyemi of the Part 2 class, and Arunwele Abiodun Gabriel of the Part 2 class. Ladies and gentlemen, about to start this debate. So may the best man win. Let me see. Okay. We are all here for this beautiful program, and the theme is based on gender-based violence. We are working on prevention. We are also working on violence. The sub-theme of the program is violence against women. The various ways we are correcting social norms through legislative reform. But on the debate, we will try to focus on different aspects of the program. So, for the instructions of the debate, we have 4 rounds to the debate. It's going to be very, very short and informative. So we are having 4 rounds. Now, for each round, we have 1, 2, 3 speakers. So we are starting from charity, and we are going to Gideon. So from charity, then we are moving on to Gideon. From charity to Gideon, and then from Gideon to Gabriel. So each speaker has 1 minute to prepare, and then after the 1 minute, the debate starts for each round. So each speaker has 2 minutes to deliver their speech. So starting with the debate now. So with stigma. So let's start the timer.
Let me just hold it.
Your prayer time starts. Less than 30 seconds left of prep time. question is, how do we plead the case of rape in a society stigma? So we have all of the charity. We have 2 minutes. Start now.
Sorry, I would like to set my time on here because I can't see this. I'm going to debate sitting or standing.
Debate sitting first.
Alright, I'm ready in 3, 2, 1. All protocols change. My name is Charity Wale Okediran, and I'll be speaking on the topic, how do we plead the case of rape in a society with stigma? First off, I believe that this means that stigmatization is when we believe that for a set of persons, when there is a form of disregard for another set of people over the other. And if we are to plead the case of rape in a society that has stigmatization, here I'm assuming that not minding the gender that is concerned as far as this rape is, first we need to understand that rape is a difficult situation. First off, I mean that rape is a circumstance that speaks evil of the perpetrator, and as such, victims of rape should always find justice for victims of rape. Now, what this means in essence is that we need to ensure that there is good enforcement of the law by the judiciary system, and that the legislation also make sure that the implementation, make sure that laws are made, which are legislations that would bring to justice perpetrators of this evil act. Also, we should understand that rape apologists, who are people that try to give excuses for those that perpetrate rape, should also be brought to justice, because I think that rape is an evil against the society at large, and as such, anybody, the perpetrators themselves, and as such apologists, should be brought to book, which is the assignment of the judiciary system. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was great. Okay, we go to the second speaker. Start.
All right. Concerning how to present a case of rape in a stigmatized society, what I would like to say about that, we have to show our society that people that are being raped are passing through a lot of things, and we have to present the case to them and make them to be educated that people that are being raped should not be blamed, because one of the things we see in our society is the case of victim blaming. In China, for example, people believe when you are raped as a woman, you should be someone that should defend it. We have to make them know that this is not the case, because people that are actually raped are not at fault. So when we make our society to understand it, the next thing we have to do is we have to put the laws in place. There are some certain laws that should be in place. For example, the VAT law. The VAT law should be in place and should be quickly put into the constitution, so that this can better protect people that are raped. And when those people that are raped are brought to justice, then everyone will see clearly that rape is not something that should be given an excuse. So rape is not something that we should give excuse for, that okay, because this person is dressing in an indecent manner, as some do, as some say, that is why they are being raped. Or some people believe they are the first person that made advance for being raped. So when we punish those that are responsible for rape, then for rape, then we make them to know that the government is not taking things lightly with them. And by that, people will be about it. And another thing that I would like to say is that reforms should be made also, and there should be proper support for people that are being raped. When there is proper support, and when the government shows sympathy to these people, then the people outside the society also can also have that sense of sympathy and sympathize with these people.
So we go to the third speaker, Gabriel. Start.
Okay. Standing on the existing protocol, my name is Awolowo, a medical student of this prestigious association. For my first speaker, I want to say, I feel my colleague is not well deep-rooted in the knowledge of what stigma is. He only defined it superficial. So I'm going to tell you what. The guys actually engaging and criminalizing the effect of the society on a particular individual due to a form of violence, which of course is gender-based violence. Now, talking about my second speaker, mentioned that people who are doing it, they are passing through a lot. But he didn't go for that to tell us what they are passing through. He mentioned that people who are being raped, they pass through a lot. But he didn't went for that to tell us what these people are really passing through. The story is not well knowledgeable about what people are passing through. People are being raped. Now, what people are being raped pass through? They feel less of a woman. Believe that, okay, the gender they are is of less priority, advantage, and opportunity than the male gender. So the solution, so what I think that we can be effective in really the cause of it is to make the awareness very, very effective. And not only do that, we create seminars like this, which we can put in place for us. We create customized shirts, stop rape, promoting the fact that rape is very, very bad. And also they must be check police, because when you go to the police, they don't support you, so they must be number to check so that you can call and say, okay, I reported at this police station and they were not able to provide help to me. Also, there must be severe punishment, like the guest speaker said, really severe punishment. Like when yes, they should actually be circumcised if they yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was very important. Now, be aware that you can report the next speaker. So we're starting from Gideon now. So Gideon the first speaker, second, and Charity will be the third speaker. So the question goes thus. After reading the question, we have the 1 minute prep time. So the second question goes thus. The dichotomy of gender-based violence.
Hi, I'm Jomi Jo.
Rape, does it exist? I go again. The dichotomy of gender-based violence and marital rape, does it exist? Your prep time starts now. Prep time is over. Prep time is over. So the second question is dichotomy of gender-based violence and marital rape, does it exist? So can you start?
Right. I'm Olamide Gideon Okoyemi, 211 medical student. And concerning the question that the dichotomy of marital rape, does it exist? Yes, it does. And I would like to point your attention to what marital rape is first. Marital rape is when the husband of a man tries to have the husband of a woman tries to have intercourse with her without her consent. Maybe he has tried, he has given an advance, but the woman did not give the consent. But because of he is a man, he tried to use force to sleep with the woman. So it does exist. And in Zambia, for example, in Zimbabwe, for example, there was a case of this marital rape that the husband came home and wanted to sleep with the woman, but the woman said no, that she's not in for that. And the Zimbabwe people believe that the men have a greater sexual urge a greater sexual urge than female. But the female, because of what the husband has done, he did not give the right amount of money. So the woman did not allow the husband to have the intercourse, and that was how it ended up in battery and all that. So I'm saying that the dichotomy of marital rape actually exists. For example, the example I gave in the case of that which happened in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you. The second speaker. Can you start?
Still standing on the existing protocol. I strongly believe that it will be understood before we so, my colleague, the question was the dichotomy of gender-based violence and marital rape does exist. They are two different types. Now, the dichotomy of gender-based violence is the dichotomy means division into two. Now, we're trying to talk about that. Does it mean that gender-based violence cut across the two genders? Yes, but across marital rape, yes, it exists. Many men see women as sex machines. No, they are not. They are meant to be your helpmates. So, talking about the dichotomy of gender-based violence, in the homes, you see children being beaten more, and the female children, they just pardon their ladies. That is gender-based violence. Actually have high libido process, and because of that, they have extramarital affairs, thereby making their husband seem, they deny their husband of the pleasure when they actually want it because of their high libido. So marital rape, yes, it exists. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, can you start?
Right. It's important for us to note that something that cannot be excused or forgiven in this topic is ignorance. So you're going to allow me to breathe a air of knowledge into the experience of atmosphere in the last few minutes. First off, the dichotomy here reads that is there a notable difference that divides marital rape from gender-based violence? So it means we are saying that gender-based violence or marital rape acting on different principles as existing components. So what it means here is that there is no dichotomy. It means that marital rape is an example of gender-based violence. So you cannot classify marital rape as different from gender-based violence. When there is a situation where a spouse chooses to forcefully have sex with the spouse, then it means that is marital rape. Now, why I can say this boldly is because legislation in India, in Spain, in the United States of America, United Kingdom, say explicitly that when there is a relationship where the wife is already 18 years and above, it means she has the ability to give consent when she wants to have sex. Now, it means that if she does not give the male counterpart consent, then she has been raped. Now, how do you prove this? It is our word against his. And so, no matter what happens, because she's old enough to make her decisions, she's been raped, she doesn't give consent. And at that, I can surely say that marital rape is not different from gender-based violence. It's actually a form of gender-based violence.
So we are ready to go to the third question. The third question, for this round, we are starting from Gabriel. We have 30 minutes prep time. For this round, we have 30 minutes prep time. 30 seconds prep time. We have 30 seconds prep time for this round, not 30 minutes. Thank you. So the question is, gender-based violence and the pandemic, a crisis within a crisis. What issues are at hand? I go again. Gender-based violence and the pandemic, a crisis within a crisis. Question is, what issues are at hand? You have 30 seconds to prepare. Start now. Prep time is over. Gabriel, you start.
Thank you very much for that brilliant question, Mr. Moderator. Now, lockdown is a crisis within a crisis. Very true. Now, what happened during the lockdown? The lockdown was imposed on March 30, 2020. And the survey was taken from the month of March and the month of April, comparing the events of gender-based violence for those 2 months. And it was shown that in April, during the lockdown, that issues of gender-based violence increased over 100%. So yes, the lockdown is a crisis. It has affected, it has promoted gender-based violence a whole lot. And now, another point I wanted to see is that in Nigeria, 18 million female students have been affected by school closures. Early marriages also increased in Nigeria during that period. Nigeria with the third highest number of child brides in the world. was actually at risk during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. The second speaker is Charity. Please start.
The pandemic period was the period when there was an experience of an increased surge in COVID disease over the nations of the earth generally. And if we were to point out the things that happened during that period and how there was a serious downturn in the event, was first how the effect of poverty and laziness affected the minds and construct of men across the world to engage in gender-based violence. Now, notice that over time, the engagement of people, because pandemic was the period where there was lockdown, so it means that there were less people going to work and having their thinking about their businesses. And as such, that gave chance for incorrigible thoughts and business that could lead to having to expend all their energy on gender-based violence instead. Also, there was a dramatic increase actually, but this was the period where Uwa was raised, the period where Azizat was also raised, the period where there was an increase in over the time of the pandemic, there was an increase in gender-based violence. Also, there was increased risk of exposure. Now, students will not go to their work, to their schools, and as such, many of them were at home. If I could not but imagine that if the society then did not have lockdown, many students would be in their schools, and as such, there will be a decreased number of students that will undergo female genital mutilation. There will be a decreased number of students that will be in the house having to be seen by men and then also be raped. So I think that there was a great incidence of gender-based violence and also in the pandemic, and as such led to the pandemic played a particular role in the increase of gender-based violence across the nations of the world generally. Thank you.
Right. The pandemic also has worsened the case of gender-based violence. For example, if you look at the armed force, for example, the attention of the armed force was shifted because they now have to, they were serving with the responsibility of making sure people stay at home. So because of that, we do not even have enough hands before to handle the case of gender-based violence. But now that the attention of the force has been diverted to ensuring that people stay at home, that shows that there is less support for those people that were attacked during the case of the pandemic. So there is less support for them. That increased the case of gender-based violence. Another thing is the economy also was affected by the lockdown. And because of that, a lot of women lost their job. And because of this, they are prone to other attacks. Because now that they do not have funds with them, they are prone to attacks like transactional sex, a case where they give themselves up for sex so that they can make money, and in case of child abuse also increased because a lot of family actually suffered and they gave their children so that they could get to fund the daily living. Another thing is that the attention of the government also was shifted. Before the lockdown, the government was still focusing on solving the problem of gender-based violence, but when the lockdown came, the attention of the government was shifted to solving the problem of the pandemic, and that reduced the strength of the government in solving the case of gender-based violence. Another thing is diversification of funds, because the government, before the lockdown, the funds that were meant to fight gender-based violence were actually disbursed to the right part, but following the case of lockdown, the funds were diversified to source for another thing.
So we are going to the last round of questions. So you have 30 seconds to prepare, and the question goes thus: how do we best tackle the issue of gender-based violence as a country? How do we best tackle the issue of gender-based violence as a country? Your quick time starts now. Charity.
Alright, I'm going to list out and explain a number of ways in which we could actually prevent or tackle the gender-based violence. First is raising awareness of the dangers of harmful traditions. In Egypt, there was a particular lady at age 17, for 17 years of her life, she experienced gender-based violence. She had genital mutilation. And then after 17 years, there was a rally in the state and the awareness was increased. And as such, because of that, now there's awareness in our society in Egypt as regards gender-based violence and genital mutilation specifically. We tackle violence against girls in school. We challenge and speak out about violence in the home. One thing about this Generation Z, and as such, we are not people that have our mouths shut. We are people who raise our voices loud when we have to. And then so we should encourage that there should be, people should speak out about violence in the home. Then also there should be the transformation of attitudes towards harmful practices at multiple levels. Also now from the government end, it's important that we listen to victims that have come up to speak about their concerns whenever they are being victimized. Now, apart from the establishment of legislation, the legislation, judiciary, and executive arms of government should see that when laws are being established by the legislative, the judiciary system, the courts, and the law enforcement agencies should ensure that these laws are actually well interpreted and put into use. And finally, the members of the executive team, the president, and the members of society should see also that they enforce this in their daily activities such that there can be a reduction in the decadence that has so far been a threat in society. Also, we can engage in respected community elders in the fight against violence. Generally, I believe that the war against gender-based violence is all-inclusive and as such involves members of society, members of the home and family, members of the government and the state. And as such, we should see that our voices are raised, our voices are heard, and that actions are taken to prevent the decadence that so far in society. Thank you.
Right, what we can do as a country, number one, is to make sure that the perpetrators of gender-based violence are brought to book. And one of these things is to increase the strength of our judiciary system of government, the judiciary. Because when the judiciary is in place, that is when perpetrators can be brought to book on time. Another thing is that we can have a platform, we should have a platform where people, victims of gender-based violence, can report cases of gender-based violence, and we should have hotlines also where victims can report these cases. Another one is we should give victims of gender-based freedom to run away from their abusers. We should create a kind of platform where they can run to whenever they are being abused, instead of being with their abuser all the time. So if there is a platform where they can run to, that will also reduce the case of gender-based violence. Another thing that I've discovered in this country that we lack is data. We need to build up our data system. Organizations like NAPTIP, organizations like National Bureau of Statistics should be funded, should be empowered to build their database, because we cannot solve a problem if we do not have a good database system. And another thing is we should provide equipment. There are some equipment that needs to be on ground, like some contraceptives and some antibiotics also, that will be very important to treat immediate cases of gender-based violence. Another thing that can do is that can prevent that also is numeracy. There's something that Kano State is doing now, and what they are doing is they are trying to educate people, even through the radio. So they are trying to educate people about gender-based violence, and they are trying to educate even those that have not been educated before at all, both like in terms of numeracy, in terms of alphabet. So they can do this.
Thank you, Mr. Mobito, for the specificity of the question. The question you asked was, how do we best tackle the issue of gender-based violence as a country? Egypt is not Nigeria, this is Nigeria. So going on from that, I'll talk about that women should take their career seriously. Many women have been violated based on their gender because they are lack of funds, poverty, and all of that. So they just have to submit to the men. They have to be submissive. They have to be vicious, submissive. So women should take their career seriously. You know, they say tough times don't last, but tough people do. So women need to be tough actually. Then another thing is, like the guest speaker said, he said there should be specialized that's very important because if you have combatants with that it takes very long time for God to address issues, and we know that gender-based violence are issues that are very, very pressing to the society. Then another thing is the punishment. We should actually change the punishment of the correct punishment that is being inflicted on people who engage in gender-based violence, because we all know that doing at the same time and expecting a different result is lunacy. Then awareness. If you go to all of residents, you see billboards of no courtesy and all of that, but we don't see that of gender-based violence. I think that should be implemented in the school environment, in secondary schools, primary schools and all that. Then for the street, people in the street, we need to take this awareness to them. Which way is the best way to do that? We have social media influencers, people that when they talk, the street vibrate. People like Brother Shaggy, you have people like that come out in the street and let them be aware of gender-based violence. So I think that's a very, very, very effective way to curb sexual-based violence, gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. We have very quickly 30 to 40 minutes of heated discussion amongst our debaters, and I'm sure we have learned one thing or the other from it. So we'll be taking 30-second justification on each of the judges after we round off this debate session. Thank you. So start from Abiodun Promise.
Thank you very much for that wonderful speech work and debate on everyone. Basically, I don't have many things to say, but for those who were at the last preliminary debate, you will notice that there has been a considerate increase in their confidence, their speech work, and everybody did better than they did last time. And to me, I think that's the best way they could have been. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the time you spent debating so far. Like Promise said, there's been a significant increase since preliminary rounds. However, my comment is this. Especially if you're trying to perform your rebuttal or do a rebuttal, you should make sure that what comes after that is a more informed opinion that makes somebody else's reference.
Thank you for committing your time to prepare for this, and I also want to thank the audience for paying attention. In addition to everything that you've said, I would like everyone that has been listening to actually take notes of the points that they made. They made very cogent points, things that we can do in our environment here in Obafemi Awolowo University, things that we can do to ensure that gender-based violence is reduced and stigma particularly is completely eliminated. Thank you.
Big thank you, and let's give a big round of applause to everyone that's on this stage. Now, we have learned a lot of things. We should not just go back home. Even, I'm sure we are still learning other things during the final session, but let everything be additive. Let us not just be hearers, like they say in Christianity, but also doers of the work that we have learned here. So the judges are still collating the results. The results will be announced later. The result of who wins, who is the winner, the first runner and the second runner, that will be announced later. So with this, I'm leaving you again and it's only found over. Thank you.
Please give them all a round of applause. The judges, the debaters, thank you, class. Please give them a round of applause. Standing on the existing protocol, I would like to acknowledge the presence of someone important. He was the former chairman of the Congregation to OA Governing Council, the acting director of investment and survival. Please make welcome, celebrate with me, Dr. Wale Okediran. Thank you, sir, for coming. Also, I have Association of Demography and Social Statistics students here. Where are you guys? Alright, just give them a round of applause, please. So, I'm sure we've all been waiting for that time, the tea break. But before we do that, we have presentations by brands, sponsor brands, and we'd like to have that. Next brand here is Gender Mobile Campus Power. I would like to call forth Gender Mobile Campus Power for their presentation. Big round of applause for them, please. Ashley Adekunle the foundation to get set order. Google Health, IFLOX, then Ashley Adekunle Foundation. But right now we have Gender Mobile, Campus Powerful. Also, I'd like to recognize the presence of Professor Agbakuro. He's a retired professor in surgery. Thank you very much, sir. So can we have campus power?
Reported case tracking. Safe space that supports proactive bystander intervention. Information escrow. Access Learning Center to learn about policies, case appeal, and onboarding information function. Features: report a case, safe space, access Learning Center, campus forum, badging filter, canvas map, polls, events.
Campus Power. It's an application developed by Gender Mobile Initiative, and I want to welcome everyone of you to this auditorium. We want to quickly request that you go to, because I want you to listen to this instruction, because there will be gifts thereafter. Please go to your Play Store for Android users. And I don't use the iPhone. Is it iOS or what do you use, please? App Store, please go there now and download Campus Power. The first 5 persons to show us that you downloaded, there's a gift to be delivered to you. Now, what is Campus Power? Campus Power is an app that we came up with to allow students to be able to report cases of harassment. Harassment is also a gender-based violence. And what we see around campuses is the fact that a lot of students are harassed by their lecturers, by other students, but they do not have the opportunity of reporting. They do not have the avenue to report. But we have come up with this app to allow you to be able to report. The officials include safe space. This is a safe space. Nobody will know who is doing what. Access to learning center, campus forum, like a school, our creative fair. You can have your own forum where all the students will converge. Then we have a matching folder. If you have a case to report, like in OAU, we have a situation whereby a student already reported a harasser already. You look at the matching folder. You report under that same folder. And when you do that, the school authority, there's someone whom the school has appointed right now to monitor whatever is being reported on the app. It is not open to just anybody. Whatever you report, there is someone appointed by the school to manage it. And I can tell you that we have 101 universities collaborating with Gender Mobile on this already. And Great Ife is one of those universities. We know that this university, you have a very strong policy on sexual harassment against students. So when you look at that, you discover that you can do that. We have the campus map for new students, we take polls, and we report cases. So 5 people, if you have downloaded, can you quickly run here the first 5 together? Okay, the first 5 together. The first 5. We have 3 already. So you have to create your profile. Okay, since he's here, where are the ladies? Okay, couldn't run down. Okay, we have another plan. At the dinner, we are going to be giving us some of our gifts as well. So you can refer, when you refer people, you get some of our gifts. Thank you very much. Okay, create your profile. How many do we have now? We have 7. Okay, that means we have to adjust our initial position. So Campus Park, download Campus Park. Can we quickly do that? Please, can you allow them to pick? Let them pick anything you pick, that is what you go on with. And ensure that you sign up and refer people. When you refer people, you get the notification and you get a gift from us. Can we have what to pick? Power band. We have please ensure that you sign up. We would like to follow up and see.
Let me pass that carton.
Okay.
Alright, give them a round of applause.
Power band.
Let me pass. I'm here.
Please. Just follow me. Thank you very much for this.
Alright, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Campus. Thank you so much. Right now, can we have Awolowo Health for their presentation? Please make welcome Mr. Oku. Alright, hold on that. Right now, we're going into our panel session. Our panelists they are ready for us, they are packed, they are ready to answer our questions, they are ready to impact us. So please, while I mention their names, I want us to give them a round of applause. A sounding round of applause. Alright, so first here is Dr. Boladale Mapai. She's a mental health advocate. Please give her a round of applause. Also, would like to call up stage Barrister Temidayo Akeredolu. Barrister Temidayo Akeredolu. A round of applause, please. A round of applause. Also, coming up stage is Mr. Obobi Olushola. Mr. Obobi Olushola. And the last but not the least is Dr. Ejemba Chinonso, aka Akoko Doctor, the herbalist doctor, the one who tells us to drink water. They are drinking water, they are drinking water. Now, the moderator for this session is no other person but the coordinator of CHRI. You guys are not clapping. Coordinator for CHRI, Lewa, Omo Lewa, Adetipe. Please give her a round of applause. When she, Omo Lewa, Adetipe. Please give her a round of applause.
So first on the list from my website is Apropos Doctor. Welcome, sir. We all know Apropos Doctor is a Twitter health advocate, and he has always used this platform to promote causes for health. So he's very relevant to this panel. So can we please give him a round of applause? Next person on the list, okay, there will be a little break. Sorry very much for breaking transmission. There will be a little break to present the awards and also for the candidates to leave. Please, around.
Apologies for the delays. We'll be presenting awards now, and I would like to call forth the president of IFUMSA. The president is Wale. We're presenting the first set of awards. Please, can I have the president of IFUMSA come forward? President Wale. Please, a round of applause for the president.
Good afternoon. We'll be presenting some set of awards just to appreciate members, guests that have come to join us, and in recognition of their support and contribution towards ending gender-based violence in Nigeria. It's a round of applause for each and one of them. And the first award.
In recognition of your outstanding leadership and contribution to education. Congratulations.
next award will be presented to our guest speaker, Honorable Barrister Awolowo, and the award will be presented by His Royal Highness Obafemi. Please a round of applause for him.
This award is for you from IFUMSA. They delivered a powerful lecture this day, the 1st of June 2021.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and gentlemen, people in love with that, I will do that. They just do that, love to the that. Say that love, let me tell you that.
Thank you very much. The next set of award will be presented to one of our teachers, Professor Awolowo. I feel like I'm not wanting to talk about. I'm not going to talk about Professor Awolowo. Professor Awolowo is a retired professor of surgery in Awolowo University. He's a teacher of teachers, a professor of professors. And even while professor is retired, he still has time to come and take medical students in the evening. I mean, I don't see any other dedication to education like this. He's a man of applause, and let's stand up while he comes forward.
Thank you very much. Indeed, Professor Awolowo is a teacher of teachers, professor of professors. He is actually my teacher. So, he's a professor of things because both me and the last week we were students of that. So the Medical Students Association of the Obafemi University IFUMSA present this award of excellence to you, Professor Awolowo, in recognition of your invaluable contribution to medical education in Nigeria. Congratulations, sir.
And the next award will be presented very much Professor Obafemi, the former dean of the Faculty of Clinical Thank you very much.
She's actually, she deserves this award. She handed over to me and I'm struggling to fit into those shoes that she left behind. So give her a round of applause. The Medical Students Association of Obafemi University in Ife present this award of excellence to you, Professor Awolowo, in recognition of your invaluable contribution to the development and growth of medical students. Congratulations.
Professor Adegbe to give this last award before we move on to the panel session. And that's for the Honorable Commissioner for Health in Osun State, the Honorable Dr. Rafi Samotu, and the award will be collected on the behalf by Dr. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oladayo Emmanuel. This award is presented to Dr. Rufai Samatu. Rafiu Samatu, the Commissioner for Health by the Medical Students Association of Awolowo University Limited. It is being presented to him in recognition of his invaluable contribution to health and wellness in Osun State.
Thank you very much, Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. The award for the debate and the other awards will come after the panel session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the delay. Alright, so I'm going to be saying a few words about the panelists before we move on to the panel session. I already introduced our doctor. Olusola Ogubi is a clinical psychologist and psychotherapist. He holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from OAU and a master's in psychology from UI. He's a round of applause for him. And then we have Lawyer Akeredolu ESQ. He's a lawyer and is a legal aid lead at Gender Mobile Initiative. A round of applause for him too. And then we have Dr. Boladele Mapai, our lecturer, a medical doctor who holds a master's degree and PhD in clinical psychology. We all know her, so please a round of applause for her. Right to the crux of the matter. Today we've had a lot of discussions about gender-based violence, and a lot of other speakers before us have said how social norms are a big factor in gender-based violence. So it goes to show that the law and the legal system is necessary for the enforcement of laws and regulations that will ensure that there is no gender-based violence in our society, even if these social norms are still there. So I'd like to ask you, what are the challenges that you experience in your line of work? You are the legal aid lead at Gender Mobile Initiative. So far, in dealing with cases of gender-based violence, what are the challenges you've gotten faced in justice for victims of gender-based violence?
Thank you very much. Recognized members of the panel. I actually thought someone would sneak it in that I had my LLM from this great university. So grateful. Well, we all know that the judiciary staff union of Nigeria, they are on strike as we speak. I will not go to court since April. That goes to say that the first problem you will encounter as a lawyer who works with issues of gender-based violence is the fact that access to justice is restricted. And when there is a problem with access to justice, because we are not encouraged to take laws into our hands, jungle justice, mob action, we are not allowed to do that. So when the access to justice is blocked, then what do you get? You get injustice. So the first problem that we have, that we encounter as lawyers, is the fact that you discover that to access the court, it's a very difficult one to do. Now, for Gender Mobile Initiative, what we do at our end is we support victims, survivors of gender-based violence. And how do we do that? To approach a court for redress, it's not a piece of cake. You pay money to lawyers, you do a number of things to access the court. That's part of the access to justice that we're talking about. So
for a victim of gender-based violence who is actually economically challenged, because most times you discover that victims of gender-based violence are persons who are economically not doing well. Mostly when you look at it, demographic analysis of it shows that about 75% of them are dependent on their abusers. So if the court system expects you to pay money to a lawyer to take up your case, yes, we feed our families based on what we make from appearing in court. So then automatically there's a problem for whoever is trying to approach. So what we do as gender mobile initiative is we provide free legal services. Then secondly, you look at cases that you even want to present in court, you discover that apart from the criminal aspect, I'll come to the criminal, let's talk about redress, because we believe that justice should be multifaceted, but must be for the victim as well as for the state, as well as for anybody that is there on the street. Gender-based violence is a crime. So when you report at the police station, which is a kettle of fish on its own, when you report at the police station, it becomes a state offense that the state prosecutes. So when you prosecute someone, an accused person who raped a child or even an adult, you send him to jail. Like now it's life imprisonment under Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. You send him to jail, he's in jail. The victim of that violence, what happens to that person? You cannot wear the badge of my abuser is in jail. What does the victim get? So our legal system is not doing enough at the moment. Apart from retribution, what about compensation for the victim? So those are the problems. Apart from access to justice, we're also faced with the challenge of how do we settle the victim.
Thank you very much, sir. I have another question for you. So statistically, we notice that only a small percentage of actual rape cases get prosecuted and people get sent to jail for it. So I'd like to ask, in your experience, how many cases that you've handled have you been able to see through it? What percentage of those cases get swerved at some point, and what can be done to prevent this?
Okay, I have to say this now. I lead the legal aid team for gender mobile. But like I said, gender-based violence is a crime. And immediately a crime is reported, it is referred to the police, from the police to the Director of Public Prosecution in the Ministry of Justice. So I don't work with the Ministry of Justice, but I have access to what the Ministry of Justice in Ekiti State is doing. And a number of us we must have seen on the pages of newspaper, on the social media, when we talk about naming and shaming of perpetrators of sexual abuses. And I can say that in the last 3 years, that is speaking about when we got a new Attorney General in Ekiti State, Mr. Wale Okediran, who is keen on sexual and gender-based violence, is so keen about it. And you know that Ekiti State is a leading state when it comes to issues of sexual and gender-based violence. And we are doing a lot. Just 2019, the gender-based violence laws of Ekiti State was passed into law, meaning that we've been able to domesticate the VAP Act in the Ekiti State and a number of other things into it. So to answer the question that you put to me, I can say, without mentioning a particular figure, because I believe we should be able to follow up with statistics, but I can say we are doing well in Ekiti, but what about other states? And what determines how well a prosecutor will do is what level of investigation that has gone into the matter. Now, a lady was raped, and the next thing she went into the bathroom, took her bath. The medical evidence that would ordinarily nail the perpetrator, we are already eroding it, getting away from us. And when you get to police station, you report, what did you wear, where were you, what did you... So a number of things, a number of problems. Then recently, the Attorney General of the state went on Twitter, I'll call it rant, and was ranting that most people, what are they called, government officials, His Royal Majesties, and a number of people in Ekiti State are trying to intervene, and political office holders, members of his own party, telling him that you are doing too much, you will ruin our chances because of what? Because he's protecting Ekiti young girls and women against sexual abuse. So you can imagine if the Attorney General is being harassed by a sexual harasser, you discover that we still have a long way to go. So we have some cases, like I handled a case as a defense attorney. I handled a case and the man confessed, I did it. Before I came in, he already pleaded not guilty. But when he told me that I did, I told him, Mr. Man, you have done it. The best thing you should do is to change your plea as a gender advocate. That was my advice to him. Change your plea to plea of guilty because you are admitting that you have done it, and he was ready to do it. He did it. I did a little of advocacy on his behalf. He was a first-time offender, a breadwinner in his family, we call it an acquittus. Instead of getting the life imprisonment of 18, it was obvious that he was showing a kind of remorse, and the court had to take pity on him. I think he was sentenced to about 21 years in prison.
I'd like to stop you right there, and I'd like to ask the influence of, I'd like to direct this question at Dr. Makwai. The influence, this was supposed to come and it's supposed to be for Mr. Olushola and Dr. Makwai. A lot of perpetrators of gender-based violence, rape and all of this usually plead some things as, they usually try to appeal to people's sentiments to reduce the implication of what they have done. And some people even go as far as claiming that they have mental illnesses. So how do we marry this? How do we ensure that victims get justice, even if the perpetrators are trying to appeal to the sentiments of stakeholders and the public in general? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I must say that, you know, we like to blame things for situations and experiences here in our country. And a lot of people will come out and say it's either the demons or the devil, and if it's not those two, then it will be a mental illness. Categorically, I can say that most of the cases of gender-based violence is just what it is, bad behavior that has gone unchecked because punitive measures are not in place and are not enough. And so blaming mental illnesses will not do at all. I deal with patients who have mental illnesses, and most of my patients will not behave like this. So it's not enough to blame mental illness. Categorically, I can say for most people, we're not dealing with a mental illness. When we are dealing with a mental illness, then we will know, we will be able to take that individual case and say this person, as a result of mental illness, has, been a perpetrator of violence, and then we will manage as such. And in my experience, there are very few. So when we're talking about most of the cases, no, we are not allowed to blame mental illnesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Olushola, would you like to say something to that, sir?
All right, thank you very much. Doctor, thank you very much for that insight. And like she rightfully said, when it comes to issues of perpetration of rape or any other form of gender-based violence, we cannot use the excuse of temporal insanity, or you can appeal to people's sentiments or abuse or that. There are no biomedical basis for saying that there's anybody is predisposed to behave in a certain way as far as taking liberty with other people's pain is concerned. So that doesn't fly. But on those rare occasions where the individual psychopathology predispose the person to wanting to behave in such a compulsive way, we know those things do exist. There are extensive psychological assessments and evaluation that will go into that to prove that 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 person actually has that kind of a mental health situation that predisposes him to act beyond his own natural instinct to inhibit those negative behavior. While those things have been taken out of the analysis, and I think every criminal issue, regardless of whether it is rape or not, should be subjected to psych evaluation. It should be like a standard protocol so that we can say, oh, now we know this person does not have, and we can prosecute, as somebody who has clarity and soundness of mind.
Thank you very much, sir. The next question is about the doctor. So a lot of cases, I've personally interacted with a few girls who were assaulted, and they went to the hospital because that was their first point of call, and the doctors are a bit not emotionally intelligent or sensitive to them. They pass comments such as, what were you doing there? Why did you go to his house? What were you wearing? And all that. So how can we incorporate empathy for gender-based violence into medical training? A lot of people here are medical doctors. How do we prevent medical doctors from being told to cases of rape, assault, and other cases of gender-based violence? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. I think first of all, we need to understand that there's the place of education. People cannot do beyond what they know. And many times when I see a particular person exhibiting a particular behavior, one of the first things that occur to me is, this is the extent of this person's knowledge. It takes being exposed to people who are victims of gender-based violence. It takes being exposed to people who have been, people who have been raped, people who have been beaten black and blue, for you to not, in quotes, victim blame. Because it looks as if here in Africa, or Nigeria basically, categorically, we've had so much pain and abuse that we don't tend to feel empathy for the person. So, for example, you see an accident on the road, and the first thought that's supposed to occur to you is, oh, this is a very horrible accident. But rather than that, it's like, why is this guy driving on one way? The accident has already happened. The incident has already happened. And it starts from the medical school. It starts from having conversations about these things. When we have conversations about these things, what are your stances? And from there we can begin to start to expose those particular biases that people have. What was she wearing, for instance? That's not the case at this point. We're talking about a crime that's been committed. It's like telling you, I was robbed, and the first thing you tell me was, why were you walking on that road at that particular time? It starts from putting ourselves in the patient's shoes. So many times as doctors, we are trained for, to take care of the patient. But we should not separate taking care of the person rather than the illness. And so education and ensuring that doctors are trained and retrained rather than just the technical and pathology aspect of it, but coming in from the human point of view.
Thank you very much, sir. A follow-up question for you. A lot of times, a lot of cases of sexual assault come to the hospital first before legal redress is sought. And in some cases, I heard recently this year we had an 11-year-old, if I'm not mistaken, who gave birth through CS at the OHCHC in Elisha. And I want to ask, how do doctors react to this? Do we have the technical or ethical clearance to take it upon ourselves to report these cases? Because oftentimes you see that these cases are sorted out. They say they would talk about it in the family. Most local communities would probably even marry the girl off to her abuser and settle it between families. To what extent can a doctor exercise some level of authority in saying, okay, I'm going to take this off and take this to the police? Do we leave it to the discretion of the family or caretaker of the victim, or do we take it as a personal responsibility to report such cases?
I believe it should be a balance of both. One of the reasons is, from the point it gets reported to the police, it is out of the hands of the family. It now becomes a state matter. And I still think that the doctors should take personal responsibility. This is an 11-year-old who has been abused. And it is your responsibility as a human being. Let's not bring the responsibility of the doctor into the topic. It's your responsibility as a human being to report gender-based violence wherever you see it, and expect, we are not in a perfect society, and expect that that justice takes its hold from there. Unfortunately, we live in a society where sometimes the family do not even want it to get into the public, because we tend to have what is called a purity culture. Let's not be seen in a certain way. Let the name of our family not be brought down. And so the family keeps it in. When you do that, what you do is you are encouraging that sort of behavior. Because let me not use my I before, because it can be misconstrued anyway. Person A abuses this person, and rather than the family to take it up to the justice and courts, the family keeps it in the house for the benefit of the family. That person sees it as an opportunity to continue whatever he or she is doing. He may look at the next victim in the house and continue that, or go outside. So it is the personal responsibility of the doctor who decides to go out. Sometimes it will take you going out of your job to do that. It will mean you having to call in a few favors, make a few calls. Now there are bodies there are NGOs and there are bodies that are responsible for taking, an example is Anti-Rape Star. It is those kind of NGOs have contacts within the hospitals that doctors can always reach out to when they identify a case of gender-based violence.
Thank you very much, sir, for this question. So I'm going to bring this home. When we talk about gender-based violence in the context of Obafemi Awolowo University, I think because a lot of speakers have spoken about domestic violence, which does not really apply to a lot of us, although there are some people who are married, but the population of OAU is mostly young people. So the major things that gender-based violence speak to in OAU is intimate partner violence and also sexual harassment. I'd like to talk about sexual harassment first. So at some point I was doing some research about sexual harassment policies against it. I did find a policy which was made in 2013, and I found a lot of loopholes, and I would like to discuss this with Dr. Mapai. The first part of the policy introduced what sexual harassment is, defined it, and said a lot of that, but there was a particular part of the policy that was talking about causes of sexual harassment, and the number 2 point was indecent dressing. I would like to ask, does indecent dressing have a real relationship with harassment, assault, or rape? If yes, how so? If not, how so? Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very germane question. I know that we have had quite a lot of training in Obafemi Awolowo University. Ever conscious, vigilant, progressive. I know that there are a lot of medical students in the hall, aside from others. I know that there are a lot of students from law and from other areas of the university. Please permit me, moderator, to throw this question out, and I want a chorus answer. Is indecent dressing a cause for gender-based violence?
No. Thank you very much, ma'am. So this is going to lead me to my next question, or let me say concern. I have personally, and I'm sorry if I'm being too, I've personally experienced, because one of the provisions of the policy is indecent dressing, and the policy does not give a definition of indecent dressing. And apart from not giving a policy a definition of indecent dressing, it gives security operatives the right to prevent indecent dressing. And this practically has converted to them indiscriminately picking up girls who they consider indecently dressed. I have been picked up before, and I don't dress indecently, if I do say so myself. And I have a lot of testimonials from girls, because I did a short survey on Twitter where people who have left OAU as far back as 2012 gave testimonies of how they were picked. Somebody even missed a test. Someone who was not a student of OAU and came visiting was picked up. And the funny thing is that they were not just picked up, they were also harassed by the security men. They were touched, their dresses were pulled and dragged. So what can be done to fix this?
When I saw some of the testimonials yesterday, I sent it round to a few select people. And I kept saying to myself, one of my mantras in life is, the day you see evil, that the evil will enter the ground. Basically, what it's saying is you act immediately. And so when I saw this, I know about the policy, and part of the revision that we suggested, was a removal of some of these things, which, yeah. Anyways, when I saw that, I did not know that that was happening. But now that I know, things are already in the pipeline for what's going to be done about it. It's a very slippery slope, actually. I have said on every occasion that I have the opportunity to say it, that indecent dressing and gender-based violence of every form should not be mentioned in the same sentence. There's no other way to say it, really. Because basically, pointing to indecent dressing for any reason is saying you are not responsible for your actions. And that is untrue. Everybody on this side of the table will agree with me that every single individual is responsible for their actions at any point in time. And so you cannot say, oh, it was because of something she was wearing or he was wearing, or it was because of where they were at the time or how they were. You can't use any of those excuses. If you have violated an individual, you are responsible for that action, regardless of any other consequence. That's the truth. That's the truth, that's the fact. And so, using dressing is a problem where it comes to sexual violence, sexual harassment. The other issue about dressing is this. Who defines whether a dress is decent or indecent? That's the problem that we have here. And that's what we're going to take to the school authority to buttress our point for why it should be removed. It's a campaign that has been on for a very long time. You heard the other when he was saying these things take a long time. We're trying to push it forward. I'm a sledgehammer kind of person. I love Awolowo because he's an influencer, and anything he says on Twitter, people tend to listen. I am one for the social media. I will say if there's a problem and we can't sort it in now, let's take it out there, But we have something in the pipeline. We will work with the school authority to make sure that it's not acceptable in a vigilant campus like
yes,
for us to allow this to continue.
Thank you very much. This next question is from Mr. Olushola, and it's about the consequences on psychological. A lot of times we talk about the over implications of gender-based violence. The person was raped, the person was assaulted. But what about certain situations like I'm a student, I'm going to work and I'm going to posting and a particular consultant or senior lecturer is disturbing me, passing comments about my body. A lot of times when you complain about these things, people are quick to say, but he did not touch you, but he did not ask you to sleep with him, but he did not rape you. So they trivialize these things. What are the impacts of these things on psychological health?
All right, thank you very much. Discuss issues like this. We kind of like take the most sensational incidences, the one that involve people of authority, people who have power over you, lecturers, public office holder, father, people that you have to be with for some reason. But there are other subtle areas of human behavior where gender-based violence is evident as well. And the psychological ramification is also as potent as when it is when your lecturer tries to get you to, do that for scores or to avoid victimization. I'll go straight to the question. So, are there psychological ramifications for these kind of things? Yes. And some of them are overt and some of them are covert as well. Overt are the things that we all see, suicidality, the loss of empathy, the what's it called? There's a word for it. Externalizing behavior such as substance use, externalizing behavior such as antisocial personality traits that come as a result of people being either once or repeated or victim of gender-based violence, whether domestically or anywhere else. But there are other subtle covert issues which borders on things that we don't see generally. We talk about anxiety. We talk about depression. We talk about change in personality. We talk about self-esteem. We talk about things that usually affect the individual's functionality in society. Mental health is basically, people do ask me, what makes one have a good mental health and what makes one have a bad mental health? Very typically, there's on the continuum. Your mental health here today could be here tomorrow, depending on what is going on with you. But generally, look at from the aspect of functionality. Are you functional when you are? Are you able to do basic day-to-day things without impairment causing from those traumatic experiences that you have? Now, a 12-year-old who has been molested at home, persistently, you understand, by people that she should be getting support and protection from, and she goes to school, it will show in that child's performances, the way she interacts with the opposite sex, the way she responds to stress, and the way she, generally assimilates things, and the way she processes information. Now, it will take somebody that has the training and the emotional intelligence to be able to identify there's something wrong here. There's a problem there. What's going on at all? What is this? What is that? And when people don't get the right avenue to get a redress or to get some kind of from what has happened to them, they just continue to internalize it, and then the cognitive distortion sets in. Oh, maybe this is about me. I get to talk to a lot of patients sometimes, and there was this patient I was talking to, and she was having these anti-social personality traits, and she was just doing, and I was looking at apathy. I was looking at, so we're looking at one of those personality disorders that is not really common with people. And just, she could just be in session and not talk. Sometimes she could talk, she could be very, very defensive, very, very, disruptive. And one day she was just like, we're not talking about, what do you think about people that do bad things? And she was like, oh, well, they have their role to play in society. Like there's good and there's bad, that's how God created them. I was like, okay, let's talk about some people. Now, what about Adolf Hitler? Well, what did Adolf Hitler do? We all know the story, we all know the history. And she was like, well, his people celebrated it while he was there. So that means that there was something good about it. So, yeah, he did some bad things, he also did some good things. What about this? What about that? Made mention of quite a lot of people. And at the end of it, she just put it out like, what's the point? I've been raped for so many times in my life, by people that I've loved so much. I've stopped seeing the world in terms of good and bad, and just seeing people as the way they are. This is a dysfunctional behavior that is coming from cognitive distortion. Life has so much that goes up in such a way that she has now learned to hide in a place where she has rationalized what is going on, understand, so as to be able to sleep at night. And these are some of the covert things that we don't generally put into consideration. Doctor will agree with me that there are many learning disorders that people in primary school, secondary school have been flogged mercilessly for. And we did not know that there is actually a psychopathology or a mental health ramification for those things. And it goes the same way with victims of gender-based violence. And I'm going to say something that is not going to endear me to be proud here. I graduated there, a student of psychology department, and I went to UI to do my master's. And in both institutions, you understand, there's this culture. And when we talk about gender-based violence, we don't take responsibility sometimes for some of the things that we do that we don't know constitutes a gender-based violence. And one of them is arrow.
Yes, sir.
One of them is
arrow. The doctor wants to know what arrow.
Oh, well, it's happening basically, I stand up to the mostly it's going to be female. I know they do it in the female halls too, but generally 90% of it, it's always females walking through the male hostels, and they get cat calls is calling it slightly. It's downright. Oh God, some of the things that they say it in Yoruba, they say it in Pidgin, they say it in, people go as far as touching, spilling water, abusive things. And I remember when I was in Part 3, a lady friend of mine who was in the department, popular department there, and a member of our church was amongst the people that did that. But she felt, sometimes it would be very, very bad that the person would not be able to walk. I've seen people run, I've seen people cry, and the more you show emotion, the more you show weakness, the more it's like a gang dynamic. They pound in on that emotion, and they just start, and they are relentless. They just keep going on and on, and there is no help in sight. everybody's laughing, everybody's saying terrible things about you. And she was like, she saw the boy later in service. I was like, come, young man, you were there when they did this, you were there. And you were like, no, we just got to the hall and they told us that's what we do here. So that's where societal norms comes to when it comes to defining what gender-based violence really is. You understand? There's a lot of power in what we agree and accept to be right or wrong as far as society is concerned. And there are some things that we don't even know constitute gender-based violence. Also, we need this constant reorientation, pushing the boundaries of what we know, so that we can protect, the vulnerable, we can protect ourselves. I might be a guy and I might not be a victim of it, but I might keep out. I plan on having 3 girls. I have their names picked out already. So I would like them to be raised in a world where things are, she can be herself. She can be proud of being a female, and people will not, hunt her because of that.
Thank you very much. I was just told that I don't have much time left. I have a question there, but I'm going to just zero in on one of the questions before we wrap up today. I want to ask usually this question is from both African government and Thomas Wine. A lot of times when we're having conversations, particularly on Twitter, about violence against women, you see men coming on say, oh, we experience violence too, but just to derail the conversation. Now, I have 2 questions. Is it a myth that women experience more violence than men? The second question is, how do we create opportunities? Because I think last month was National Day of the Daughter or something, and many people do not say anything about it. But when we start talking about issues that concern females, we see men just coming up and saying, oh, it happens to men too, and all of that. How do we achieve this balance? And how do we also create a platform to discuss the challenges of men without using them to derail necessary conversations about women's experience of violence?
Thank you. So I'm going to say a few things that probably enemy some more enemies. One of the first is, it is not a myth that women are more abused than men. It is a statement of facts. Statistics support it, that women are more victims than men. Number 2, why is it that it's always when we're talking that, that men tend to use that opportunity to say men are always also abused? I think it's because we have created a society where we do not want to interact anymore. Even when you're on social media, we just want to win. And part of the discussions that have been going on social media has been that gender war. How many of you know what I'm talking about? So women start a particular topic, probably say something about men, and some men are slighted or enraged by such discussions, and then go statements online. It is, look, we were thrown into a world where I can be talking perpetrator of the crime. And we have to call it what it is. It is a crime. Secondly, it is our responsibility as men, and I'm going to say it, it is our responsibility as men to call out other men who are victims of crime, who are perpetrators, rather, of this crime, rather than hiding in the solidarity of we are all men. We can go follow our hand. That's nonsense. Because at the end of the day, if you continue to encourage it by your silence, what you're doing is, at some point, it's going to hit close to home. It may hit close to a sister, it may hit close to a cousin, it may hit close to your wife, it may hit close to somebody you love. And the fact that you do not speak about it, that name and shame campaign has to go on. Women are more victims than men. One of the reasons is because gender-based violence is enshrined in that unequal, between men and women. Some men feel that, it's my right to a woman's body. If you're a man sitting here, a woman's body is not your right. And sometimes we think this happens in poor homes. No, it can even happen in school. It happens in school more often than we know. People who are in sexual relationships, probably the lady is not feeling in the mood. But the guy still goes ahead. And it's now my baby. Without realizing, you just committed a crime. That's rape. You need to be honest to yourselves. Look, if you have an issue, talk about it. In the International Day of the Boy Child, men did not come out to speak. One of the reasons is men were trained faulty. It's a faulty training to not speak about their issues. And that idea of last, all of us will make up or we move is basically going to derail you as a person. Because the more you keep internalizing this issue, the more you keep having unnatural responses when things like this occur. An example of that unnatural response is that ability to always be defensive when, in quotes, your gender is being slighted. I keep telling people I was a victim of childhood molestation. But you don't see me, having to, that's because I actually sat down to deal with the issue first of all. So guys, please deal with your issues. Have a day, talk about it. Okay, see, trying to talk about your issues is not weakness. As a matter of fact, it is a symbol and a sign of strength. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The final question is for that and this question is, how do you tackle cases in which there are institutions and people defending a perpetrator? I'm going to give two examples. This first example, I don't know if anybody knows about Adeosho witness. She was assaulted, she was raped twice, first by, I think, a colleague, and then the second time by our teacher, who is a doctor. And what this actually happened to BCH, and we have seen demonstrably how the institution, his colleagues, have rallied around to support him and ensure that she does not get justice. And I think this is an ongoing case. She still doesn't have justice. Assaulter, a rapist is outside the country, and his colleagues are doing their best to protect him. And this is also this mini Lawrence case, where the perpetrator was obviously, they said they had been in police custody for a while, but was well dressed, well fed, looking fresh, even wearing a t-shirt around modern something like that. So my point is, how do you as a legal practitioner navigate all of these structures that protect perpetrators to ensure that they are brought to justice?
Thank you very much. But speaking as a legal person, well, it starts from when the case was reported, like I said earlier. In fact, before the lawyer is involved, a lot of things must have been done about the case. Most times when we get involved, we discover that it's a bad case. I refer to people who are involved as enablers. Now, if I have a friend that committed an offense of rape, and I decide to enable him, one of these days will come back to my sister or my daughter or even my mom. A good number of us sitting in this auditorium, what is your first response to cases of abuse, sexual violence on campus, sexual harassment? When you look at yourself, you'll be able to determine what happens in future. Because if we keep flogging what has happened, we'll discover that we are not moving forward. Every one of us here, we are advocates. Like apropos doctor said, when there is an issue reported on Twitter, don't gaslight. It happened so way, that was how it was. No, let us be direct. This is wrong. Whatever is wrong is wrong. Let's just say it's wrong. And for going forward, our institutions are terrible as it is. But the people inside the institution are persons like us who are comfortable with these things happening. So if we continue this sensitization, we keep talking about it, and we'll make commitments to the fact that consent is important. The fact that you cannot sexually harass anyone, and we all agree, then there will be a solution to whatever the situation is. So basically, individual, every one of us in this auditorium today, talk to another 5 persons about sexual harassment. We had a case that we handled in this school. The lady is no longer in the school. Police gave us problems. The lecturer was dismissed. But the student could not stay on this campus anymore. Because students, most of who are sitting down in this auditorium, they knew about it and they were making things of her. So ask yourself, what am I doing to enable perpetrators of this crime? GBV, sexual harassment, is a crime. So if you are enabling them, then you are also a criminal. And one day the law will catch up with you. You can destroy the evidence that we have now. But one of these days, it will happen at your backyard. And I wonder where you will take it. So it's a matter of, let's change our orientation as individuals. I might get appointed into an office tomorrow. What will I do when I get that appointment? Will I sweep under the carpet a case of sexual harassment reported to me? Those are the value of the orientation that we should take.
Thank you very much, sir. A round of applause for all our panelists. You would agree with me that there's been a very rewarding discussion session, and the thing is, we could be here for 5 hours talking about things related to gender-based violence and still not finish talking, because the conversation is an ongoing one and it doesn't end. So the onus is on us as individuals to reorient ourselves, learn about consent, learn about gender-based violence, learn how you are inadvertently contributing to gender-based violence, and make a commitment to do better individually. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here.
A round of applause for our panelists and our moderator. Thank you very much, Sal, Mas. Standing on the existing protocol, I also like to acknowledge the presence of consultant public health physician, who also doubles as the president of Medical Women Association, Osun State Chapter, Dr. Eson. A round of applause for our moderator. Thank you very much, ma'am. Now, we're almost done, and I'm sure that by now the tea and the bread is being passed around. Yes or yes? They have not passed the food. Yeah, with you. Sorry. With you. All right, now, I know that many of us have questions and we're unable to answer them or take them at all. But please, if you have questions,
Kindly write them down and pass it to any of the ushers or protocol members. We have questions. So now we're going to be continuing our brand presentation. We'll soon be done, we'll soon be out of here. Okay, now the next brand is the representative from Awolowo Health to come forward for their presentation. Then after that, we have iFlux. Then after that, we have Ashley Adegoke Foundation. Please a round of applause for Awolowo Health. A round of applause for Awolowo Health. iFlux should get set, and Ashley Adegoke Foundation. Round of applause, please. A round of applause.
Okay, I'll just stand beside. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the product in front of us here this morning is Nigeria's own and Africa's first pan-African teletherapy platform. It's the brainchild of Obafemi Awolowo University itself. 80% of the team that work on this brand are graduates from this great institution from different disciplines. So that's a nice one. So psychotherapy is traditionally done in an office or in the mental health space or whatever. But one thing that the COVID-19, social distancing was that there was need for us to evaluate how we access mental health care, and that was why we brought this product. So Nguvu is a word, is a Swahili word that means strength. And the strength we are trying to portray here is mental health strength, which means that Nguvu Health is a platform, a teletherapy platform that is an on-demand psychotherapy service. That means that you can access psychotherapy from the comfort of your house, from the comfort of wherever you are, on your device or on your laptop. These applications are available on both Android and iOS as of now. The mode of giving you psychotherapy is through video sessions or chat therapy sessions. So you can have chat therapy or you can have scheduled video sessions. And yes, it is not free, but the idea is that the product is easily accessible and very, very affordable. Currently, we are doing the product for students, where students of the age limit, you have to be 18 and above to be able to pay for this therapy session yourself. So you should be able to do that as a student, and you can benefit from a certain bonus or whatever. So if you don't mind, I think we have Macs for people that can basically go on iOS or Android right now and download the application itself. So if you can download the application and open that application and come and take a selfie in front of our roll-up banner here, you'll be entitled to our gifts. So we have we don't have power bank, but we have okay, beautiful branded merchandise here. So if you can go on Android Play Store or iOS and download the app and come and take a selfie with it in front of our roll-up banner here, you would be entitled to one of our products. Do we have one person in the house? Beautiful. Thank you very much. Let's see the app. So you have to fill it with
A round of applause for Improving Health. A round of applause for Improving Health. Do not forget that we still have giveaways for us. We still have giveaways. So please, can I have 9 vlogs? I don't see the stupid. Your brother says, you know, we are taking stupid. Even though we're still sitting. And they say, don't change over everybody's in gunshots. I just want to be back. I'm starting to start a life to be passing out the my final life, baby, you would sweet in my final life. My final life, go to me. Good afternoon. Example, blocks. Possible. Flux is a mobile app that allows you to spend money using fiat, naira, dollar, pounds, and crypto. Yeah. So Flux was launched last year. It was launched last year, and right now we have about 10,000 users, majority from this prestigious university, and we've processed millions of dollars in transactional volume. And we have different products from our team. We have the Flux P2P, we have Flux Store, we have Swap Monkey, then we have Cross Border. For the Flux P2P, it allows you to send and receive money from the Flux app to any bank, and also send money from the Flux account to another Flux account at cheap low charges as compared to traditional banks. On the Flux P2P, you can also buy airtimes, pay for bills, you can create gift links, and you can request money from your friends. And for second product, Flux Store, yeah, you can generate as a merchant, if you are a student or you're someone with a business, yeah, you can generate a product link for each of your products, your business. So with that product link, you can accept payments from people, from your users, from your customers. You can accept them and you can process payments. You can allow you get an optimized dashboard. An optimized dashboard that makes you have a good workflow for your business. And for the third one, we have products, which is Swap Monkey. Now, Swap Monkey is a decentralized crypto swapping platform. Now, on Swap Monkey, you can swap from Bitcoin to Litecoin, from Litecoin to Dash, from Dash to Tron, from Doge to any coin instantly, and get best rates, get best market rates. And you have 100% anonymity. What I mean by that is when you make swaps, no one will track. Just make your swap and you go, and nobody can do anything to it. So the next thing is cross-border. Now, cross-border allows you to send money from Nigeria to UK or other European countries within 5 to 10 seconds. Just on the click of an app, just click on it, and then the person gets it over there at very amazing rates. Yes, we have other exciting features coming soon. So, this product was built by OAU students, current OAU students. Yeah, and though most of them are in Lagos right, also part of the team, and I want to thank Adil, the chairman of this NUC IFUMSA, for bringing us on board, because we really appreciate this. We appreciate this. So far, so good. disabled, actually purely disabled, not the ones that you get to see around, like purely disabled, blind from birth for over 40 years. And what we do is we empower them, we give them, we train them, at the same time we'll give them money to be able to start what they want to start. So that's just please the video. Thank you.
My name is Princess Anthony Olashade. I am a princess of the source of good luck in the lady that she stayed with Nigeria. I am from a ruling house called the Land of Leader of the Believers in Lagos. And also that I'm proud of my sleep and I'm proud to charity with my vision.
Yeah, it's so far.
present this certificate as the second runner-up in the debate in the 2021 IFUMSA Health. Thank you very much. I must announce cash prize. Very important. Okay, and the cash prize. Congratulations.
Our first winner with a total of 220.3 points is Olaleke Gideon.
This certificate and cash envelope as the first runner-up during the debate on IFUMSA Health. Congratulations.
And the winner of the debate
this certificate and cash prize as the winner of the debate during the 2021 IFUMSA Health competition.
Okay, thank you very much. For the last our presentation, I'll be calling for Akinola Beloved. Please, a round of applause for the IFUMSA president.
All right, good afternoon. As we bring everything to a close, we want to present some awards to some of our sponsors, and I would like to call on Dr. Eson. She's also the president of the Medical Women Association of Nigeria, Osun State Chapter. And when I was reading about them online, one of the striking things about M1 is that they are advocates against gender-based violence. A round of applause for them once again. The first sponsor of the calling is Ashikoki Foundation, the representative for Ashikoki Foundation, please.
Thank you very much. Great to meet you today. Great to come sorry. Okay, on behalf of the FUMSA, Medical Students Association of Awolowo University Limited, I have the great pleasure to present this award of excellence to the Foundation in recognition of your enormous support and in support of the campaign against gender-based violence in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
The next award will be presented to IFUMSA. The IFUMSA team representing the IFUMSA. Please, a round of applause for them.
Very much. I have the great pleasure to present this award of excellence to IFUMSA on behalf of the FUMSA. as an award of excellence, in recognition of your enormous support against and campaign against gender-based violence. So I present this award to congratulate.
Represented from Full Health. We have representative from Full Health. Thank you very much.
Happy to present this award of excellence to Health on behalf of the center, an award of excellence in recognition of your enormous support and campaign against gender-based violence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Is there a round of applause for Dr. Mrs. All right, thank you very much. It's been a very, very long day. And before we go, the Health Week started on May 29th, and it continues again on Thursday with Heart and Medicine at Pitch Theatre. I promise it will be very, very eventful. And finally, on Saturday, we'll be having the dinner, the untamed dinner. I tell us a pleasure. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. Thank you very much. I'll be calling on the Department of Clinical Sciences to give us the closing remark and the public vote of thanks. Please stand up as you come forward, please.
Please have a seat, please. Those of you leaving, that is disrespectful, and we don't like that for medical students. Please come back. Come back and sit down. You see, I don't want to spoil your show, but that is the truth. Okay? I missed a meeting of the committee of this. So stay here from the beginning to the end. And I think that because I want to have an interaction with my students of your week. It's a very, very important thing. And I know that we have opportunity, one or two things. And I've learned a lot from the presentation from the commissioner and from the panel that have shared. So it's something that is beneficial both to you and to many of us here too. So I want to congratulate IFUMSA for choosing to join the fight against violence. And many of us tend to think that it cannot involve us. But I will tell you a story, and it's a true story. One of the medical students was found guilty of physically abusing his girlfriend, who's in the same class, a final year medical student. When I was a coordinator, and it fell on me to carry out the discipline that is, pushed by the faculty on that time. He didn't graduate with the rest of the students. So you know that the faculty don't take it easy on issues concerning gender-based violence, violence against women, even violence among students. So it's a true story, and you need to be very, very careful. It cannot happen to anyone who you can. Just to pass on information to the discussion panel. The Sexual Harassment Act of the university has been updated, and I think in 2019, the Senate passed a new bill. So before you make further input or further comment on that, you may need to go and get a look at that document. Maybe it answered some of the questions that you were raising. So I want to congratulate the president. He's been at this thing for a long time, and he has done very well. So I don't want to waste much of your time. My former dean is here. She's very supportive, and she will always support medical students. Let's pray for her. She's contesting for promotion. and you continue to enjoy that relationship with them. I want to thank all the people that have come here today. It is not my duty, but I really need to appreciate them. Some of them have been hearing their name. This Awolowo doctor. I used to think he's a comedian, but obviously he's not a comedian. I have not bothered to check him out on Twitter. I've heard his name. So also others that have come to speak here. So I wish you all the best. You guys go and enjoy yourself. And that's why we gave you today. To have it free. Do whatever you want. Thank you very much. Sorry, we're not yet done. Sorry, before you leave, please. We would like to take the executive, the IFUMSA executive, and LOC chair committee member. Please come up stage and let's take a picture of the dean, the former dean, and Dr. Esson. So, vote of thanks for this event. The vote of thanks for this event. We are grateful to God Almighty for empowering us to be able to have this event. And we thank all our panelists for coming and guests for honoring our invitation. To the members of the LOC who have worked tirelessly to make this event a successful one. You are the most amazing team anyone could hope for. To you IFUMSA for your participation and enthusiasm in the activities of the outreach. Thank you. This theme is a very important one, and I'm grateful that we have all come together to create awareness and improve the lives of women and others who are affected by gender-based violence around the world. We all need this event. We are living with an improved sense of consciousness on the ways that we people can call out and fight gender-based violence. And that will be the truest measure of our success here today. Yes, to many more years of IFUMSA and many more events like this. When we can come together to make the world a better place. Thank you very much. Thank you, Great Event. Thank you, IFUMSA. Executive and LOC members, please come to very fast. Members of the parliament here present, please let us come forward. Alright, now, so let's give a please. I'll be calling out your mind. I want you to come forward. F6 FEB, F6 FEB, F1 9532, F4 270, F8 070, F2 731, F7 360. Please, as I call your name, please come forward. F4 533. F6F0, FBE88, FA66B, FE345, F9, F1D, F4, 5TD, F6, 58B. Please come out. Refreshment, please still sit. We have enough refreshment for you. Cause trouble. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending hosting the public lecture. Me, myself, Theo Dr. Line to see you at the see you at the dinner. Enjoy the rest of the day. To this side. Outside.